Architectural Outcast.
Today, we're going old school, all the way back to 1939 and Destry Rides Again, a movie that was meant to be a star turn for Marlene Dietrich, but it's remembered today as one of the films that made Jimmy Stewart a star. We have two American myths in this movie. We have the mysterious stranger, and we have the bad girl with a heart of gold. But we also have an interesting question. Can the truly evil be redeemed? And what price will they pay for redemption? This movie has one of my favorite old Hollywood stories connected to it and shows how real-life relationships can affect art. Apparently, while making her movies, Marlene Dietrich wanted to have an affair with her co-stars. Her goal was to have them completely wrapped around her little finger, willing to do anything for her, up to and including abandoning their families and their wives, begging her to marry them. Unfortunately for her lovers, as soon as filming wrapped, she'd kick them to the curb in as cruel and sadistic manner as possible. The more distraught and heartbroken they were, the happier she was. She sounds nice. Well, when she found out she was working with this young whippersnapper, Jimmy Stewart, wholesome, naive, just a few years removed from the Midwest, she bragged to friends it wouldn't take her a week to have him wrapped around her little finger, eating out of the palm of her hand. He'd fall over himself to get in her bed, and she wouldn't even have to work at it. First day of filming, in between takes, she slinks over to Stewart, ready to work her magic and cast her spell. But unfortunately for her well-laid plans, Stewart wouldn't give her the time of day. Now, he wasn't being particularly rude. He was just oblivious. He'd brought this huge stack of comic books. Apparently, he was an avid comic book reader. And in between takes, he'd race over to his chair, bury his face in his comic books, oblivious to the world. Marlene Dietrich started to try every trick in the book she knew to get his attention, including faking interest in comic books. She threw the kitchen sink at him. Nothing worked. Now frustrated, she decided, well, he can't ignore me while we work. So she tried to actively seduce him while they filmed their scenes together. But Stewart, ever naive and disgustingly wholesome, never picked up on the signals, was oblivious to it all. At one point, the mask fell off. Dietrich became offended that anybody could resist her charms. She became enraged and started treating Stewart like crap, insulting him, picking fights, causing scenes. But the ever-naive Stewart was still oblivious to everything. There's an old expression, never hit somebody who's trying to be nice to you. Dietrich couldn't hold a grudge, because every time Stewart had to interact with her off camera, he was sweet and charming. But more importantly, he was incredibly polite and respectful. By the end of filming, Dietrich chalked it up to, you win some, you lose some, and she moved on. Kind of makes you wonder how naive and oblivious Stewart really was. I mean, after all, he managed to avoid getting his heart broken and doing it in such a way that did not offend a powerful actress who was notorious for being incredibly vindictive. Sometimes naivete is your best weapon. I mean, it's not like I've ever used, I'm just a simple farm boy, as a shield. Definitely not. The reason why I tell you all this story, besides the fact that I like it, find it fun and entertaining, is because this is a classic example of real-life drama affecting art. The complex tension between the two played out in the film. It made their relationship more dynamic and interesting, thus more entertaining to watch. Back to our main story. The town of Bottleneck has been overrun by criminals who are led by the local saloon owner and a cabaret singer, as played by Marlene Dietrich. This fine couple have their fingers in everything: stealing, cheating, robbery, and murder. The local sheriff leaves town unexpectedly. Apparently, he's going to be gone a very long time. So the corrupt mayor, in cahoots with the saloon owner, decide to appoint a new sheriff, the town drunk. They want to make the sheriff's job a big joke. But back in the day, the town drunk had been the deputy of a famous lawman. That lawman is now dead, but his boy is also in the law business, and he's available. So the new sheriff sends for Tom Destry, as played by Jimmy Stewart. The whole town gathers to welcome their new deputy, but they don't get a hard-bitten gunfighter. What they see is a laid-back, easygoing fellow who spouts homespun wisdom. More importantly, he doesn't even carry a gun. Nobody knows what to make of this interesting character. Young Tom Destry quickly runs afoul of the local saloon owner and the cabaret singer. As crime continues to swirl around town, Destry takes an interest in what happened to the missing sheriff. He eventually tricks the saloon owner to get one of his gang members to go move the sheriff's body. Now, come on, you knew the sheriff was dead, right? This allows Destry and the sheriff to arrest the gang member and to find the body. This allows Destry and the sheriff to arrest the gang member. Destry announces to the town they found the dead sheriff, and they're charging the gang member with murder. The cabaret singer lures Destry away from the jail, allowing the saloon owner and his gang to break in to rescue their friend. And in the process, they murder the sheriff. Destry straps on his guns, and with the townsfolk in tow, they attack the saloon. They're going to get rid of this menace once and for all. In the ensuing fight, the saloon owner is going to try to shoot Destry from ambush. The cabaret singer throws herself in front of the bullet, dying in Destry's arms. Destry kills the saloon owner, thus ending the problem. The movie ends with Destry proposing to a very proper young lady. Jimmy Stewart's take on the mysterious stranger is a laid-back, easygoing, folksy Will Rogers type. Part of the reason why he's so mysterious is he lives in the shadow of his famous gunfighting lawman father. But as successful and tough as his father was, he was shot in the back. So in order to break out of his father's shadow and to avoid his father's fate, young Destry wants to do things differently. He wants to tame the town with his brains, not with his six-shooters. Because the townsfolk don't know much about Destry, they become confused. They don't know what to make of his peculiar character. Part of the problem is Destry is sending some very mixed signals. This can be illustrated in the scene where the saloon owner confronts Destry, demands his guns. We learn that Destry doesn't carry a gun. And what he says, particularly, "I don't carry a gun because I might get hurt, and I wouldn't like that," can come off sounding rather cowardly. But his body language and his facial expression as he says it sends a very different message. The saloon owner doesn't know how to react. He ends up laughing it off, making it into a joke. Destry just laughs along with everybody else. This man is either a blithering idiot or very dangerous. The second myth is represented by Marlene Dietrich's character, Frenchie, the bad girl with the heart of gold. You could argue that Frenchie is the driving force behind all the crime and bottleneck. At bare minimum, she's equal partners with the saloon owner. She is stone cold. The scene where she smokes a cigarette while the man she set up is beaten unconscious and robbed, her eyes are empty and soulless. Maybe not a lot of acting there. Just saying. By the end of the movie, Frenchie has been redeemed. She regrets her actions and she wants to make changes. But why? Well, that's pretty straightforward. She fell in love with Destry, right? Yes and no. That's the simple explanation. Why did she fall in love with Destry? It's because Destry saw her as a unique individual. She wasn't just a member of a group in his eyes, dance hall girl, criminal, or worse. And she couldn't use her group affiliation as a shield to deflect his criticism. And then he says rather brutally and bluntly, underneath all that makeup is a decent human being. Uh-oh, she just had expectations put on her. Expectations that she would have to pay a very high price to live up to. Frenchie might have been redeemed, but she still needed to face the consequences of her actions. Remember, we're dealing with a stone cold killer here. She may not have pulled the trigger personally, but she lured in the victims, making them weak and vulnerable, easy pickings for her accomplices to come in and finish off. The price of redemption was her life. There are very few people today who are capable of understanding how truly catastrophic the Great Depression was. It destroyed the lives of a lot of people. Some people lost everything: their money, their social standing, even their pride and dignity. And they had to scratch and claw, do almost anything just to survive. When Destry Rides Again came out in 1939, at the tail end of the Depression, it offered two messages of hope. First, don't judge a book by its cover. That maid, that dance hall girl, that bellhop, doorman, taxi driver, you don't know who they were in the past. They might be here at this moment just due to unfortunate circumstances, and you don't know what they're capable of doing in the future. So maybe, just maybe, we should treat them with respect and dignity. And the second message was a message of hope. No matter who you were and where you found yourself in life, and what you had to do over the last several years to survive, there was hope for you. You could change. You could become something different, something better, something greater. But the people that came out of the Depression were a tough-minded lot. They didn't expect a free lunch from anybody, and they understood that they might have to pay a price. But the belief was the price, whatever it was worth it. Redemption was worth it, because redemption offered hope. Destry Rides Again is a product of old Hollywood studio system, where the best examples were able to reach the level of art. And it was because they could perfectly balance comedy, drama, and tragedy into a very entertaining tale. Check it out for yourselves. I guarantee you, by the end of it, you can't help but feel hopeful. At any rate, I hope I've given you all something to think about. And until next time, you all be safe. I'd appreciate it if you liked and subscribed while you're at it.
Please like and subscribe. Please leave a comment.